Alright, welcome back. So today we have Nuwa here. She has been requested to do an updated build video, and besides that, it's been actually a very long time since I've done a build video for Nuwa. A lot has changed in Smite. Smite is always changing, we all know this. So let's get into it. I do want to start with talking about her abilities and how it matters into building for Nuwa. Very few things here. For one, overall she's a very bursty mage, so you want to go to like obviously a lot of magical power, penetration. You could probably go into a slow reaver to enhance your burst damage, as well as you can take a look at the cooldowns for her abilities. Are actually fairly lengthy across the board, except her Shining Metal, of course, which is only 8 seconds. So, and then especially the ultimate, 110 seconds for ultimate is actually fairly long, which is kind of understandable for what it does. It hits all targets. It's a totally the best skill shot we all know and love. You can avoid this, of course, if you buy the Sanctuary active and you pop it in time, then you can avoid it. But besides that, you're getting hit by it. The later stages of the game, it has a huge impact. Early game, it does practically nothing. The damage is really low early game. So besides those few things there, next, the passive. If you want to have a little bit more fun with your new wall and you don't really care for the best performance, you can go into a couple items to kind of build off of your passive. So you can go into a basic attack items like Telekind's Ring to enhance your attack speed, so that way you can get quicker routes, which can be a lot of fun to play with. As well as Telekind's, you make sure you want to get it early on, because the passive on Telekind's really falls off later game, since late game a lot of gods have more magical protection. Therefore, the Telekind's passive does not that much. So for late game, you could probably sell the Telekind's for Demonic Grip, so that way you keep the attack speed, and then in exchange for the passive on Telekind's, you have the extra penetration from Demonic Grip based off of landing your basic attack. So you can have some fun with that. But besides that, that's pretty much it. So let's get into actually building for new wall here, starting with Conquest. With Conquest, you definitely want to go into a starter item. One really good one that you can look forward to go into is you can go into the Soul Stone. It really builds off of New Wall's passive. In the same time you're trying to build up your passive stacks. While you're building up your passive stacks, you're also building up the passive on the Soul Stone, a starter item. And that way, after you collect your 5 souls, your next damaging ability has plus 60 magical power behind it. So you can land a whole bunch of auto attacks, and then you can just shoot your Shining Metal through, and then you can do additional damage. So it works hand in hand with New Wall's kit fairly well. If you don't like that for whatever reason, that's perfectly fine. Then you can go to the Vamp Shroud, looking for that plus 100 health. So Soulstone has only mana, this one has health, which is really good, as well as obviously the passive on Vamp Shroud, allowing you to easily sustain with the health and mana that you get back from hitting enemies. So that's totally up to you, but for now, let's just go into the Soul Stone. So there's a couple ways that you can work a cooldown reduction item into your build. For one, you can go to Lost Artifact after your starter item of choice, go into your boots, go back and finish this Lost Artifact into the cooldown reduction item called Chronos Spinet. So that way you have your boots and cooldown reduction very early on, so you can reap the benefits from having that cooldown reduction for more of the match. Makes a bigger impact. Compared to if you picked it up as like one of your last items, the match is probably ending somewhat soon, and you don't really get the huge benefit from having that cooldown reduction. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, if you don't want to go into that, there's another way that you can work a cooldown reduction item into your build. You can go straight to your boots. Next, since it is Conquest, a stacking item is fairly good for Conquest. Obvious reasons, there's a laning phase, you kill a lot of minions, and stack items provide you with a lot of benefits from power to more health, like the Warlock Sash. But we're going to a high-powered build, so we can go to the Book of Thoth. After this, then you can go to your cooldown reduction item, and then the rest of your build. You could do either of those things, it's really up to you. And if you don't prefer cooldown reduction and you want to go into as much power and penetration as you can as soon as possible, that's fine, it's personal preference. Alright, so we're just going to continue on with this build here. It might look different from yours. It kind of boils down to personal preference, you know, what items like, maybe you like Warlock Sash instead of Book of Thoth. But for the sake of just continuing the video, we're just going to go on from here with the build that we have here. Next, you definitely want to go into a penetration item. For me, I'm just going to go into Obsidian Shard. It works really well with a new wall. She can't make a great usage out of the Spirit of the Magus item. Spirit of the Magus item really relies on a mage that has good damage over time effect abilities, like Anubis. His abilities do multiple ticks of damage at a rapid succession. That allows him to really get good usage out of the Spirit of the Magus, since ideally it's a stacking item. You have to apply all 3 stacks to get the best usage out of the item. New Wall doesn't really have that luxury. I mean, you can say the Mysterious Fog. It does damage over time effect as long as the enemy stands in it. But really, if they're not really going to stand in it unless if they're forced to by CCs. It's not too reliable is what I'm trying to get at. So we're just going to go to the Obsidian Shard, as well as its percentage penetration, so it allows you to really penetrate the defenses of structures like the Fire Giant and towers, etc. So moving on from here, we definitely want to get a nice boost of magical power, because late game New Wall's damage is out of control. Her ultimate starts hitting like a lot. And as well as you can see, 351, it's not that great as far as magical power wise. You can see on the bottom left hand corner. Again, we do not have stacks in our Book of Thoth, so the best item to go into to spike up your magical power is just to go into the Rod Tahuti. Boom, we have almost 600 magical power. And then again, we still have our starter item here, so you definitely want to sell that when you can, whenever you feel like I said doing a whole lot. Maybe you can sell it to finish off an item, and then you can go back and pick up an item that you wanted to. Let's say the match is very close to ending and you want as much magical power as you can, as soon as possible, with the cheapest cost. Maybe the Bancroft's Talon, you get towards 700. If you want to really enhance your burst damage, then you could go to the Soul Reaver with the passive. Really strong, a lot of magic power with this item, as well as it does give you 300 mana. So if you have the Book of Thoth, which the passive relies off of more mana, then it's a great item to just synergize with your Book of Thoth. Maybe you like the Polynomicon, which is really great on builds that have a lot of magical power to really benefit from the passive. Then you could do something like that. It's really personal preference. Another thing to say, regardless of what you finish off your build with, like let's say the Soul Reaver, for the late game, you probably want to sell your pen boots for the cooldown reduction boots. Reason being, 10 pen is not a whole lot late game. More gods have a lot more magical protection, so 10 pen is not a whole lot. And as well as you already have your Obsidian Shard for your penetration. And then in the late game, you're fighting a lot. There's no more laning phase. You're doing a lot of team fights, or a few seconds off of your cooldowns for your abilities can be a huge turning point in fights. So you definitely want to go to Shoes of Focus. This way, between the Shoes of Focus and the Cronus Pendant, you have a nice 30% cooldown reduction, and that way you can, obviously use more abilities. You can probably get more kills with your ultimate from enemies that are trying to escape, and overall, you probably want to do something like this. As far as relics, I can only really recommend the Purification. Reason being, you're not CC immune until you can just use your ultimate. Not all the time do you want to use your ultimate to get out of the fight and be CC immune. Because it has a very long cooldown. So Purification allows you to just be CC immune and just cleanse it and try to get away. Besides that, you can go to other relics. Maybe something you could try, I've done this a few times, is right before you use your ultimate, pop Frenzy, so that way your ultimate does even more damage because it hits everybody. So you can go ahead and pop your Frenzy, and then you hit 4, and then you just fly in the air, and then you hit everything for more damage than you normally would, since you have the Frenzy, obviously. So that about wraps up the video. Hopefully it was helpful and give you an idea what to build for your new wall. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.